From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Waker's pearls, and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance, it was resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricated real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables every set. To form the Venus Nightly, never free from the debt. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in the sky. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We build temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they try to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon word, every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage. To reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan, now there's crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, he's a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tent that was prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined where was next. Temples from the rubble, made cathedrals from the struggle. Turned the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right. This is and you are Under the Groove podcast. Welcome, everyone. This is where we see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. Everything here is done above board. We get down with the get down. All right. We ain't about no funnies. Welcome, everybody. Grand Rising. Hopefully, everything is everything with everyone who becomes involved in this session we call Touching Bases with the People. Tonight, though, we added a new title, and the title of what I would like for us to discuss, you chime in if you see fit, is who's selling us out? Who is selling us out, y'all? All right. That being said, again, it's just a pleasure to be here today. My life is all right. You know, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining, not the least bit. So that being said, come on in here. Let's do what we do, y'all. I got something for you. In fact, what I have for you is courtesy of loved one, Raymond Skoll, 102. That's Roscoe, man, from Raymond Avenue, 102, man. Peace and blessings to his. That includes his family as well as the Rays, he is a part of, man. Hopefully they are all doing well. Hey, Roscoe, I appreciate the piece you sent me today because I thought it was profound. It was, hey, man, appreciate you, man. Good looking out for dropping that on Under the Groove podcast, Touching Bases with the People. So again, the title of this Get Down tonight, y'all, is Who's Selling Us Out? Big discussion. That's a big discussion, all right? I'm going to let this thing heat up a little bit before we get this thing up and running, because I wouldn't want anyone to miss what the speaker is going to say. Now, I took into consideration that who's going to be speaking on the piece that Raymond Skoll dropped on us is somebody who's right now kind of controversial, just based upon what he allegedly did or did not do with money that came from the community. All right. Now, aside from that, I think the brother's message is strong. It's like, I liken him to like Charleston White. It be some shit sometime, but the message, man, is strong, so I'm going to attach that to this brother in spite of whatever he's facing, in terms of allegations, man, that does not matter. What matters is the message. Let's get the message because we're being educated. This brother is dropping gems and jewels for us to pick up and pass along to those we profess or claim to love the most. All right. Let's get in this comment, man. I see some of the people jumping up in here, man, which is a nice look, man. Hey, Antonio Anthony, man. All love and respect, brother. Glad to see you back with us. Queen and Zinga 7-4 say peace and blessings through the Royal Group congregation. James, what it do, man? Salute right back, bro. You know how we go. You know how I do, man. Queen and Zinga also said, I say, who ain't selling us out? All right. Well, first, let's get it understand. Let's establish who he is, and then we'll get to that part. You know, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of speculation, or there could be a lot of speculation as to who could be or who ain't selling us out. And I'm gonna tell y'all, man, the list is long. Let's be real. And I want to say this. Before we get to going outside the community, we need to be addressing who's doing it in the community, you know, in the immediate community. You know, a lot of these people who are selling us out, they don't come to the community, man. They want to have no parts with our community, with their people. That's a fact, all right? However, we have these individuals in our community, and we see them every day, man, selling us out for the bag, all right? For the bag, you know. Like I said, we'll get to that, man. A lot's been going on. I did a lot of material today, a lot of content, and I'm asking that the Royal Group congregation, if no one else, goes in and get a bar of that content, all right? Please like, share, and comment. And if you haven't subscribed, and if you see fit, please subscribe as well, all right? One of the issues touched me today was the fact that Jay-Z's name is allegedly involved in this Epstein files thing. And I don't know. I'm skeptical. And that's based upon the piece that the FBI put out, a piece of paper with his involvement allegedly in this get out. Read that, man. It does not make sense. If anyone have been accosted sexually 7 times on 7 different occasions, however, only made 1 report, something's wrong. There's only 1 report of 7 different occasions of being molested, sexually assaulted. Then not only that, but you would go back to more parties. Some ain't right, I said my opinion is Jay-Z has upset somebody. And they are set. They are set to prove to him he's nothing. He's only what they allow him to be, and they're putting his feet to the fire. That's just, that's my opinion. I don't know whether or not that's true, but Jay-Z, he calls himself a businessman now, and kudos for that. There's nothing wrong with brother getting out there, man, and doing the damn thing, trying to find a way to make money, legitimately. However, I think Jay-Z there's a possibility Jay-Z tried to buy into something that he was told, you can't have that. You can't be a part of this. And he insisted or went behind somebody's back or something. And somebody said, okay, man, let me pull my strings. Let me show you how this shit really works. Let me do a Bill Cosby on you. Bill Cosby, everyone should recall or should know that his issue started when he wanted to buy, I think it was NBC or Viacom. It's one of them, just a major media corporation, and was told flat out, no, that's not for you. I don't know, man. Like I say, how they are allegedly attaching Jay-Z to this, and just based on the paperwork I seen, it doesn't match up. So something else is going on. And just so you know, I'm not a fan of Jay-Z. I listen to nothing Jay-Z made. I'm not a fan, of his wife either. Neither. So, really, I don't have a dog in that fight. All right. But we're going to get to this content in a hot second, man. Antonio Anthony, salute right back, brother. All right. Hey, Lisa Moore, I see you. Lisa Moore 5'3" says, Grand Rising family, peace and blessings, bro. Love to all the kings and queens in the chat. B1 means black first. All right, sister, represent that, represent that, represent that. And don't do it, y'all, just when we come to touching bases with one another. Do that thing, man, all day, every day. People you run into, man, especially us, melanated people, hit them with that. Black first, man. Ain't nothing but love, you know, B1. All right. We appreciate seeing you in here, Lisa Moore. You know, hopefully everything is everything with you and yours, and you and your family are above board. You're taking care of one another. All right, Devin Butcher, what it do, bro? You say, brother Bub, what's up, man? I see you up in here, man, with us. I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Every time I come in here, you're there. James is there. Al is there. Lisa Moore is there. Kimmy. Hey, man, the names go on, man. And not only that, but every time we do our live series, and by the way, we're doing the live series now 4 days a week. So today is the first day all the way up till Friday, okay? But every time we do these live streams with touching bases with the people, we get new viewers, you know, we get new followers and subscribers. So that's very much appreciated. Keep doing the damn thing, people. For those of you who are new to this Get Down, again, this is Under the Groove Podcast. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the podcast if you see fit. This is where we keep everything above board. We focus on the focus in order to be able to get down with the Get Down, man, with no fluff, man. All right? This is what we do. Hey, James, I see you, bro. CPT in the house, man. He say that. James say, look at the music and movie industry. It's modern day slavery. And all we know who runs that ship. And we all know who run that ship from Hollywood to New York. The gatekeepers of commerce always have their stronghold on the world. So true, man. That just brought me to a thought about this Epstein guy. See, people want to make like, oh my God, how could this happen? Epstein, you know, I've never heard of such a thing. I think people's memories are lacking. Do everybody remember Hugh Hefner? Do everybody remember Hugh Hefner and the parties he threw at the Playboy Mansion? Oh, there's discussion about it. You go into one room, it's going down. You know, see some of our best actors, sitcom actors, being caught at these parties at Hugh Hefner, where he didn't only supply women, he supplied men as well. You know, Hugh Hefner, however, it's a different spin, you know. Epstein, he upset somebody, or he didn't have enough people to stop this from happening. Hugh Hefner, I think, on the other hand, had his ducks in a row. You came up in that joint, you was probably being recorded from the time you pulled up into the driveway, man, to the time you left. Whatever room you went in, whatever you said was recorded and documented. Hugh Hefner was able to die without being alleged, without having been spoken bad about, you know what I mean? Alleging that he did anything out of the norm other than have a lot of beautiful women around him. I'm pretty sure Hugh Hefner got it in. In fact, Epstein probably got his game from him. Something to think about, all right? Something to think about. All right, Raymond Skull, 102, man. Peace and blessings, bro. How are you today? And the family, all right? Hopefully that snow didn't let up a little bit and you're able to get around with a little less hassle than you were, you know, a week ago, all right? Hey, man, first and foremost, man, I appreciate the link you sent me, man. In fact, that link is what we're going to discuss tonight. So I need you in, man, 10 toes down, man. This is your baby, so to speak. We're going to raise it together, man. You know, but the title today, it is Touching Bases with the People, but we gave it an additional title, and that is Who's Selling Us Out, all right? Because the fact of the matter is, man, a lot of what happens to us or what's happening with us uh, by others, how others deal with us and, just do what they do to us is only because they've had help and assistance to do this. Our people have betrayed us to a large degree. Facts, man. Come on. I was saying a minute ago that, we can go to the higher echelons of society and be able to point these people out readily. You know what I mean? But by the same token, from where we come from, the so-called marginalized, we know all too well who those people are in the community. You know what I mean? Those who profess to confess to deal with us on a daily. Oh, I'll be in the hood. I'll be on the set with the gator. We see them. We see them. We see their work. And if that ain't selling us out, man, I don't know what is. All right. Now, that being said, man, let me get to you, Raymond, man. You say peace and blessings to you, bub. I extend my regards to your family. Shout out to the kings and queens in the Royal Group congregation, man. We appreciate you being here, Raymond, man. Raymond Skull, man. Appreciate that, man. All right. Like always, man, your presence, man, along with everybody else in here means a great deal. Real spit, man. James Cash says, man, the system needs to be broken. It's a vicious cycle of rich versus poor. And we all know this, right? But again, hey, man, the system is so ensconced. It's so embedded in the fabric of our everyday lives that meant just to get rid of it, just to cut away at it, man, is difficult. That would be a difficult task. And again, I said this last week about those in power. Once they realize we're trying to get rid of them, man, they're going to go to extremes to stay in power. Just what they do. That's what they do. And this is, you could point to this as an example or the reason why a lot of our people are the way they are. They got a taste of it. Because that's all they really giving them is a taste. And for nothing in the world, they're going to resist or be denied that taste. It's an elixir to them. It's a medicine. It's what they need to function. Without it, they'll look at themselves, oh shit, I'm back in the bottom of the barrel with my people where I don't want to be. That's the truth, man. So yeah, man. You ain't lying, James. You also go on to say that all billionaires are corrupt and Hugh Hefner is demonic. That MF is foul. I'm telling y'all, he was a foul piece. Everybody, like I say, they tripping on Epstein. But for whatever reason, they allowed or Hugh Hefner made sure they would never bring him down off his high horse. He was like J. Edgar Hoover. He had shit on everybody. He had shit on everybody and wasn't nobody willing to try to bring him down. Nah, they'll cut their own throats before they do that. So Hugh Hefner was able to pass away like he was, just, all right guy. He went about life and business the right way. Bullshit, man. That's bullshit. Can you imagine, man, or try to imagine, man, how many minors was on that property daily, being groomed, man, to service the rich, the super rich, the politicians, people from all over the world, man, frequented that location. All right. And again, man, we have people willing to come out and say, hey, man, I went in there one night and oh shit, I opened one door and it's going down. That was the first epic party or parties to, take place in our time that we know of. Again, a lot of us seem to have forgotten what Hugh Hefner was really about. He was about peddling flesh. Period, point blank, man. It's a pimp. That's what he was. So you can't, and so therefore, let's say allegedly, just to stay on the safe side, okay? Let's say allegedly. But you can't help to think about all those he catered to, their fetishes, you know, their weird desires and whatnot, you know. He was the man. He was the man that ran the operation before Epstein ever had a thought to run an operation like that, you know. So that's what it is, man. Yeah, the super rich are the super rich are there's something wrong with them. They're corrupt. Money corrupts, you know, like power corrupts, and power corrupts absolutely. There's no in between, you know. You get a taste of power, you want it, you know. You get a lot of money, you want that money to bring you in to that space where power exists. That's why people go after it. They want to utilize that money to bring them power. Power corrupts, man. You know, power corrupts. So real spit on that right there, though, James. Real spit. You're going to say, I peeped the documentary on the Playboy Mansion. Some fucked up mess that went on in that joint. And to think how many people would bring themselves around that filth. I guess I question any, if not all of them. Anybody who went in there, man, let's be real. All right. Let's be 100 about that. Let's be 100 about that, man. Well, yeah, why would they keep the Playboy Mansion out of the limelight like they're doing? You know, there's a different approach. Hugh Hefner, like I said, man, didn't no one attack him. Did no one expose anything that went on in the Playboy Mansion? Totally different. A totally different approach than what we see with Epstein. And he had the goods. Excuse me. He had the goods. He had the goods. The thing is, he didn't have the goods on the right people. You know, that it has to boil down to that. You know, this guy had royalty going up in there, molesting and sexually assaulting, torturing, and murdering young people. You know, if Harvey Weinstein was involved with anybody, anything, that, you know, Harvey Weinstein took the fall before Epstein. And people have been talking about Harvey Weinstein for a long time. He upset somebody, probably one of his own. I think that's how that worked, because I think that them people really got the goods on some of everybody. You know, that's how they work, you know, and that's how they get done what they want to get done. This is how they're able to pull strings up in our government, so to speak. But hey, man, a whole lot of funny stuff, right? A whole lot of funny stuff is going on. And this thing with Epstein, it ain't, man, this is not even the tip of the iceberg. They say 6 million pages in the file now. They only released 3 million so far. So what is the other 6 for? Why are they holding it back? So they can deduct more? So they, you know, destroy evidence, you know, and make sure certain names don't get out? That's how that work, man. That's how that work, man, you know. And Patel, director of the FBI, he'll take the fall, you know, because, you know, hey, man, there's a golden ticket at the end of that situation if he does. He'd never have to worry about anything, him or his family, for the rest of their lives, as long as he keeps his mouth shut, you know, as long as he keeps his mouth shut. So they can get rid of evidence. That's nothing. That's nothing for them to do. They've been doing that, you know. But yeah, that's what it is, man. Yeah, man, we living in some dangerous times, y'all. We living in dangerous times. That's what I say. All right. Queen Nzinga said Hugh Hefner had to play book on these people. All they ever got on him was publishing and circulating obscene literature. Ain't that something? Yeah, I think, when they passed certain laws about, you know, the publications of so-called girly magazines, you know, it didn't really affect him, because he wasn't, his publication, man, they tried to make it not just, it wasn't all obscene, you know what I mean? For every person they highlighted, every model that they put in the magazine, they gave you a synopsis of this person who they were, where they grew up, what education they had, things of that nature. And in doing that, it kind of barred, I think, the FCC or others from just going in there and shutting him down. But I think also there's a lot more to it. There wasn't just that. He had evidence. He had shit on people, and it was enough to keep them off his ass. So he died peacefully, Anthony Tibbs say, what's the science for the day, man? All right, we touching bases with the people, Anthony. Look, man, we're going to discuss who's selling out the community. Who is selling us out? Who is really behind selling us out, doing us bad, betraying us, making it where they're gatekeeping in a lot of respects, or making it where they see to it that as long as they're all right and we're not, that's okay. That's the topic, man. That's the science for the night, man. Who's selling us out? I have a clip for everybody. And again, this clip is courtesy of the loved one, man, Raymond Skoll, man. I appreciate you again for dropping this link, man. It's something for us to share with the people. We can have a serious discussion about this. Like I was saying, though, I think we have levels of this shit, this sellout shit, There is the higher echelon who are playing ball. They don't care one way or another. They are playing ball. They have no one to answer to but their masters. Then we have the lower echelon, or the lower rung on the ladder. They are those who, for the most part, do podcasts and they create shit. They keep shit going. They keep knocking us down a notch or two, man, with every episode they drop. To me, that's some sellout material. That is what that type of content, that type of material prevents us from evolving, because it's out there, man. And then not only is it out there, but it's out there for the young ones to take in. They're disseminating stuff, not even educational, let's be honest, that will hurt a young mind or wire a young mind in such a way to where they won't be able to develop properly because they got this garbage, man, this corruption in their brains, man, so their development will end up being arrested. To me, that's, you're helping those in power to keep us at a certain level or a certain place in society. Without these young minds, man, evolving correctly, evolving fully to their potential, we're stuck, man. We stuck. So we have people in our community, man, that we know of. We see them on social media every day who are part of this problem. All right. Just put it like that. Hey, the homie, how you doing, bro? He said, peace, 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 Bubble and panel. Likewise, man, I'm going to send that right back to you, man. Peace and blessings to you and yours, bro. Good to see you here with us. All right. James say, I don't respect the majority of celebrities. I don't care for them personally. I'm like you, Big Bub. I ain't never been starstruck by them type of people. F no, fuck no. I respect real figures, real brothers. I think sometimes me and my wife will sit down and we'll talk about certain people, and I'll tell her off the rip, they ain't shit. And so we'll have a conversation regarding that. And the thing about me, I'm not just saying they ain't shit because they got all this money and they don't give a, they ain't shit because they have no integrity. See, integrity, man, I think, just my opinion, is what would stop a lot of people from, people like us, melanated people, from doing the shit they do. And it's just my opinion that when it comes to movies, for instance, blacks shouldn't do or play certain roles. I don't care what part of the world they come from. A black should never want to allow a director or a writer of a script, producers of movie companies, to tell him be a slave. The fuck? Be a thug, be a whore. Come on, man. That right there, that right there shows you no integrity or just a little bit, but there's no such thing as a little bit of integrity. Either you have it or you don't, you know? And for some of us, man, yeah, integrity is something, man, that we have to come into possession of over time. Life experiences, when we really going through some stuff and we're learning from these experiences, integrity begins to develop. You know what I mean? That's my take on it, you know. But in the music industry, that's that. In in the movie industry, that's that. In the music industry, it's just as worse. It's bad. Our music today, man, is garbage on all levels. There are very few artists in the music industry who do quality work, who really love their craft. And in that, or in them displaying or sending their craft out to the people, there's always a message. There are very few of them left, man. When we grew up, man, most musicians, most groups, most artists, solo artists, there was always a message to the people, you know? We don't have that anymore, man. In fact, that started to die off in the 80s, around the same time as the crack epidemic, you know? So can people lose their integrity? I think not. You know, again, man, because integrity is something that it's a part of a process and it grows with you. It's there because you understand something, or you understand something enough to know that integrity has to be mainstay in your life. You know what I mean? Certain experiences bring us into that, you know. Excuse me. So yeah, the music industry, man, the movie industry, the business industry, or business is another one. It's also one of the coldest. All right, brothers, man. I remember, for the life of me, I could never understand why the brother, I think his name was Johnson, he owned BET. He owned BET. I mean, back then I couldn't understand why he would sell it. But as I got older and began to understand things, a little better than what I did at that time, I kind of got it, but I never respected that dude for selling BET. Because BET could have been everything, man, that could have brought to the people identity, love, unity, history, respect, and empowerment, So what brought him to the point where he sold BET to those people, I don't know. I don't know. BET is worse off now than it was when he had it, but I never respected that he did that, That go for a lot of others, man, who have TV shows or, series on TV that they produce or their name is attached to, the production of it, man. They're doing no better, But that brother sold that, man, and I couldn't understand it, man. Like I said, as I got older, I got to thinking that he was threatened. We're going to give you this 2 billion. I think it was 2 to 3 billion. You're going to take it and get the fuck out our face. And that's what he did. I don't know if it went like that exactly. I'm just surmising, I'm guessing. But yeah, we no longer have BET, which could have been for us a network that empowered us, that gave us direction and education. So, all right, let me move on. I can go on and on, like I say, to the break of dawn. One other institution is the church. Such a disservice. And I'm not a religious person. I made this clear many a times. I don't have a faith. I'm more of a spiritual brother than anything else. However, I grew up understanding that the church was a beacon for those of us who, just going through it. We found solace there, peace. That was back in the day. Nowadays, man, no such thing exists in the church. Not only that, but those who supposed to represent it and bring the people in for nourishing, spiritual nourishing, man, they're just as bad as all the others in the world, you know, who do foul, and corrupt things. They are just as corrupt. But the church, though, is more damning or damaging because, hey, man, the church is where, like I said, man, you're supposed to be able to go, man, for solace and a peace of mind. The church, I think, not just because of where it is now, but it was also damaging in a lot of respects to where the information it dispensed to the people wasn't correct. A lot of our churches, man, back in the day, you go in there, first thing we see was a white face on the wall, you know? And it preached, turn the other cheek. It preached a whole lot of stuff that was not helpful to our people. I think that the church did us a greater disservice than all of those we're talking about now in terms of selling us out. The church sold us out. It just did. That's my take on it, my opinion. No one has to agree with, however, we can discuss that. All right. We can discuss that. All right. Let's get to this, man. We'll get back to these comments. We'll alternate. I want to drop this right quick, man. The loved one, like I say, Raymond Scott sent this link to me this morning, and I decided then and there, this is something I think we should share with touching bases with the people with the Royal Group congregation. It's worth it. I think it's worth it. All right. All right. Let's tap into this, man. Let's see what we got, y'all. Give me 1 second. Get this thing right. All right. And here we go.
All right, we're getting ready to get started. Get started early.
I'll interrupt from time to time just to make a comment, and you guys can keep it in the comments. Let's get it going. All right.
I had a little talk earlier today, and we were talking about the fact of African Americans in our country today. Are we thriving or just surviving? And I proposed that question to you earlier today, and I want to propose it to you again in front of this audience so you can talk to them. In your opinion, do you believe that African Americans or Black folks in general, are we thriving or surviving?
Hold up, man. Let me
right
see,
now.
Man.
We're barely getting it done, or what's your
build these holes in his pants like this? See, this is what I'm talking about, man. Like, come on, bro. Oh man, just because that's a style or trend don't mean you should be wearing it, man. All right.
I would say that we are drowning. We are neither thriving or surviving. We are drowning. When I look at the suicide rate for Black girls, they have the fastest growing suicide rate in America post-COVID. Number one killer of Black men are each other. Second leading cause of death of Black men between 20 and 40, suicide. Third leading cause of Black men between that same age group are preventable injuries or reckless behavior. I look at the fact that 75% of our children are being raised exclusively by the mother. I look at the fact that we don't have a single Black community in these United States that operates independently as a Black Wall Street, meaning there's no place I've been to in America, nor that I know of, where we own our own bank, our own school, our own hospital, and our own supermarket. You need a bank to invest in the people, a hospital to save the people, a supermarket to feed the people, and a school to teach the people. And nowhere in this country do you find those four things in the same area. And
let me jump in. That's what's wrong with us. That's what's wrong right there. We aren't fending for ourselves. We aren't looking out for one another. We have people. We have Black people with more than enough money to take care of 10 generations, and yet we don't have our own hospitals, our own schools, our own supermarkets, our own banks, things of that nature. These same people, rather than create that for the people, they go and put their money in the banks of those people. They go to their hospitals, their schools, or houses of education. They go shop at their grocery stores, most of which are selling them GMO products. Something's wrong, man.
And then when I look particularly at Cleveland, I find it interesting that this is one of the few black cities where we are in the numerical majority. 47% of the 350,000 residents of the city of Cleveland are black. 37% are white. And even though we predominate numerically, we are still disenfranchised, economically exploited, and politically oppressed. Absolutely unacceptable.
And why you think it's that?
Well, number one, you cannot control black people, you cannot exploit black people, and you cannot disadvantage black people without the participation of the black bourgeoisie. So in Cleveland, I'm sure there are members of the coonocracy who operate in the favor of the white power structure.
Right quick, a new phrase there, y'all. The coonocracy. I'm gonna wear that one out.
And against the interests of black people. That is 5 families of the coonocracy or the black bourgeoisie. Number one, you have your media coons. The media coons are black people who own radio, newspaper, magazine, TV, podcasts, who do not discuss the critical issues in our community. They don't talk about the food deserts we live in. They don't talk about the fact that although 65% of Cleveland's public school students are black, 67% of Cleveland's teachers are white. Why in a predominantly black school district are most of your teachers not black? They won't talk about that, but they will talk about who won the NBA finals. They will talk about who hit the lottery. They will talk about who got shot at the mini market last night, but they will not talk about the critical systemic issues that affect black people in Cleveland that were introduced from the power structure.
All right, let's jump in here, y'all, because I'm telling you, again, hey, Raymond Skull, man, good looking out, man, for that piece, man. What has he said so far? It's not true. What has he said so far that's not true? Now, for some of you, or for some of us, let's get over the fact that it's Dr. Umar Johnson who allegedly did or did not do something he was supposed to do with money that he received from the black community. You know, his point, his message is on point. His message is on point. Now, I can't speak to what he did or did not do with somebody's money. There's one reason why I don't ask the people for a dime. I don't want nobody to talk about Bub took my money and he said he was going to do A, B, and C. And we ain't even seen A yet. This is one of the reasons. All right. Now, and again, aside from that, you know, his alleged misconduct with finances or, you know, money, you know, given to him or sent to him from the people, the message is on point. All right. So, hey, man, y'all, we're going to run this clip. And when we're done with this clip, let's get in these comments, y'all. One more thing. He did mention about podcasters and how they will get on there and talk about who got shot at the mini mart last night, And look, man, they are propagating, promoting, and perpetuating this BS. And yet, you know what? They get the clicks, man. They get the hits. You have some podcasters do not partake in any of that mess, man. Yet it's a struggle for us to reach the people. We're in a bad way, man. We are in a bad way. Let's get back to this clip, man.
They will blame the victim and never blame the perpetrator. So you have your media Negroes, then you have your higher education bourgeoisie. These are black people who work for the school system, the university system, the community college system. And when they're asked why black people are in the condition that we are in, they will blame single mothers, poverty, rap music, sagging pants, and Instagram. Although those are contributing factors, they are not causes. The reason black people exist in poverty in Cleveland and everywhere else is because the Federal Housing Authority created a situation where they helped poor white people escape to the suburbs 40, 50 years ago on low interest loans and handouts, and they trapped black people in the ghetto and then stripped the inner city of the resources that they were given to poor people with the same income out in the suburbs. So
we just had that conversation last week, people. Do y'all recall that? We just mentioned that last week in terms of what happened to our community. Why did it end up the way it did? Because that's what the government orchestrated. And once they took the jobs and they took them in the place where they can give them to poor whites to come back to the community and offer the welfare to just the women in the family. But the only way you could get the welfare was if you disavowed or you kicked out the man of the house or the man in the home. He couldn't be there if you wanted that little $400-500, that little $500-600, or whatever it was back then, or whatever it is now. But come on, man, this is some orchestrated stuff, man. And I'm telling you, I'm pissed just listening to this, man.
So everything that happens to us is introduced from the outside. We are at fault because we don't do anything about it. We are at fault because we don't organize and resist. We are at fault because we don't push back. The third family of the black bourgeoisie is your elected officials. Not all, but most of them. Negroes who are in positions of influence and power, but are paid to do nothing to assist black people. That's number 3, I think it was. So you got your media Negroes, your higher ed Negroes, your elected black bourgeoisie. Then you have your entrepreneurial bourgeoisie. These are black people who have made a decent living for themselves, come from the ghetto, and after they escape to the suburbs with a nice house and a nice car and probably a snow bunny, they turn their backs on the back of other blacks. And the last of the 5 families, Baba, is the religious bourgeoisie. And I would argue that the religious bourgeoisie is the most dangerous because they have the most control over the way black people think. Basically, what they do is they evangelize oppression, and they evangelize dysfunction, and they evangelize white supremacy that makes black people think we're in the condition we in because Jesus put us in that condition, or Muhammad or God put us in that condition. In other words, they never point the finger at systemic inequity, systemic injustice, or systemic racism. They come up with fancy religious excuses that rock black people to sleep instead of waking them up to organize against oppression.
Lullaby, baby.
If you really are trying to lead your people away from the devil, why are you so comfortable with your people living in hell?
So if that's the case, and the suppression is distraction.
He said, if that's the case, no, brother, that's the case. Again, so far, so good. Dr. Umar hadn't said anything I'm willing to contest or, speak against. Hey, man, there's some serious stuff going on. And he said, man, rock us to sleep. We are asleep, man. We've been lullabied to sleep, man, in such a way, man. I'm talking, we like what they call fifth REM, REM. You could sock some of us in the jaw, man, and still ain't gonna wake us up, man. That's how asleep we are. That's how far gone we are into this slumber. It's some crazy stuff, man.
Then what's our counter move?
The counter move is mass organization. Everything begins with organization. As the right, excellent, honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, the greatest black leader of the 20th century and the greatest humanizer of all time, and the only major leader we had after Frederick Douglass to give us a movement that wasn't tied to a religion. Marcus Garvey said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. El Hajj Malik El Shabazz Malcolm X said, it's not that white folks are more intelligent or Asian or Arabs or East Indians are more intelligent. They simply out-organize us. Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael said, if you organize a little, you get a little done. If you organize some, you get some done. But if you don't organize at all, you don't get anything done. Black people are completely disorganized. And until we hate racism more than we hate each other, nothing will change.
So I want you to tell everybody about racism.
Yes, sir.
Because I think people get confused sometimes about when you talk and when you speak, they take your passion
For anger.
and
It's not anger, it's love for my people.
and they take it as racism. So I want
Yes,
you to
sir.
explain that a little bit.
Sure. First of all, I cannot be.
Hold on. What did we say? What did we say about us? We're just passionate people. A lot of people, though, this is how they get you. When we get to speaking about something that we're passionate about, first thing you say, why are you emotional? You know, why you this? Wait a minute, man. This is the passion I have for this topic of this conversation. You know, first thing they'll do is try to make you feel like you're out of line because you're passionate about what you're pressing or what you're speaking about, you know?
Be a racist because racism is a group system. There's no such thing as individual racists separate from the system of racism. That's like being on the Cleveland Browns and I'm a Brown, but I can't exist separate from the Cleveland Browns organization. So there's no such thing as an individual racist. You're only racist by direct relationship to a racist system. So there's no such thing as individual racist. I can be prejudiced. I can dislike white people because they're white, which I don't. I can hate white people because they're white, which I don't. I can be prejudiced. Racism is prejudice plus power. You got to have the power to implement your prejudice to disadvantage people's lives. I don't control nobody's mortgage. I don't control the education of nobody's children. I don't control the police department in nobody's neighborhood. I don't control the criminal justice system in nobody's county. So there's no way that I can be racist. Now, racism, so that African people understand the difference between racism and bigotry, because I don't believe every Caucasian is a bigot. I do know every Caucasian is a racist. What is the difference? A bigot is someone who has an emotional connection to the degradation of African people. In other words, I hate you because I think black people are inferior. I hate you because I think black people are monkeys. I hate you because I don't think black people can do anything right. That's bigotry. I have a hatred for you. Most white people may not have a hatred for black people, but they're all racist. Racism is about three things, and racism is only about three things: complete control and domination of resources, opportunities, and privileges. Let me say it one more time. Racism has nothing to do with how white people feel about you personally. That's bigotry. Racism is, I hate you. Bigotry is, I hate you. Racism is, I want white people in Ohio to be in absolute control, domination, and monopolization of all the resources, all the opportunities, and all the privileges. And because black people don't understand racism, that's why it's such a potent weapon against us. Because we will think if a white woman lays down with me and give me a baby, she's not racist. If I sleep with them, if I smoke weed with them, if I live with them, if I hang out with them, if I pledge a fraternity or sorority with them, that means they're not racist. That has nothing to do with racism. A white woman can have your baby and still discriminate against your black ass. Racism ain't got nothing to do with sex, religion, or none of that. It's about military and political control. And until black people understand racism, we'll never get out of it.
Let's talk about the state of the black men and boys. The education department.
Let's sort it up right there, man. Just to give us time to come into the comments. If anybody has anything to say about what we've witnessed and heard so far, I mean, please jump in. We're playing this piece, Who's Selling Us Out for a Reason. We all tend to sit back, man, and we have these discussions about this very thing. A lot of times, though, we are reluctant to call a spade, you know. We are quick to say, well, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. We're not being accountable for what our role is in this get out, man. That's part of the problem. And I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying. Okay, there's that. There's all that. But that only matters if and when we refuse to act in terms of getting ourselves together. and not worrying about what somebody is saying more than worrying about not worried, but being proactive about getting our shit together. You know, that's the difference, I think, you know. I'm in the comments again. We're going to go back to that piece in a couple of minutes. It's just a lot of comments. Let's get to it, all right? Raymond Skull 102 said, man, these celebrities have the money, but can only maintain the money as long as they carry out the agenda of those in power. The money isn't actually their money, though, right? And they're not going to allow them to have money in such a way that it becomes power, you know? It's just not the way it works, you know? Again, we're talking about racism. We're talking about racism, pure and simple, you know? Michael Jordan interacts with a lot of racists. You know, he really controls nothing. You know, it's his face and his icon, you know? But he's willing or more than willing to play the game. You know, a lot of these racists will approach him with business ideas that does a disservice to his people. They run everything. What's he going to say? No, I don't want that extra 100 million. Nah, you know, he's been indoctrinated, man. He caters and subscribes to racist theories and concepts. That's what he does. James say, I agree. I don't care none. Okay, I don't care none. Jesus Christ, that name is bogus to me, and that motherfucker never existed. Okay, see, when we see you, glad to see you in here. Yeah, you've made it. What we say, better late than never, all right? Here you are, all right? Good to see you, sister. You are going to say B1 to all the kings and queens and guys alike. Love to all. Love to my uncle and auntie and nephew. Right back to you, niece. We love you, all right? Good to see you are doing well and you are here. Raymond Skull goes on to say, even if we organize today, we'll still be under attack by our people through these modernized COINTELPRO programs. The system has always been able to employ our own kind against our own kind. We had that discussion, though, Roscoe. I think it was last week also. It got to the point where, you know, again, we got to call a spade, man, and strike a strike. It was said here, I said it, and others have said it in the Royal Group congregation. We got to go to war with our home, man, before we can even attempt to think that we can go to war with them people, because we'll be fighting. We will never get to the point where we'll get to address them as long as we have people like the people we have in our communities or profess to be like us doing the things they do. And until we get rid of them, until we get them on par, in step, you're going to approach them, man, it's all for naught. It's for naught, man. You know, they'll be looking at you, be like, hey, guy, I didn't do anything. It's your people. First thing they'll do, it's your own people. It's not me, you know. So, yeah, we would have to organize in such a way to where we're bringing brothers and sisters together who understand what the agenda is, you know, and how we need to go about getting our people's minds right, man. You know, getting our people to accept that B1 should be first. Should be the primary thing, man, objective. And until we get that like that, man, we're going to always have these sellouts. You know, because sellouts aren't convinced that we run anything. They trust who they trust. They believe who they believe has all the power. They have fear for them more than they have for their own kind. They don't fear us, man. You know, they say, hey, I got to go down there, man, worry about getting shot, jacked, anything else. I'm still be here, you know, around the corner from, you know, my boss. You know, another guy just got just as much money as me, and I'm okay. Y'all never get to me, and they're not going to do nothing to me as long as I'm helping them make money. That's how they look at it, man. Yeah, as long as we got these problems, man, we're going to continue to have these problems. You know, straight up. B60M, I see you in the place, man. Appreciate you showing up, bro. You say Copper Road was separate from Shreveport until 1980. You could go from elementary to college without touching a bus. had its own water treatment facility and all that, sold out for the city bus. That brings me to a thought you mentioned about, they had the whole get down, they were up and running, and yet they sold out to the city so that the city could provide transportation for the people, when they had their own. That makes no sense. But it reminds me when the civil rights movement was in full effect and they boycotted the Montgomery bus line, and they had begun to have their own means and ways of transportation. In fact, they started a bus line. When those in power, when the whites recognized that, they went back to the drawing board and say, okay, yeah, let's relent a little bit. And in fact, let's start to integrate. Let's let them sit where they want, because they're about to make big buku money off us or off their own people, money we won't get. So I don't know how they convinced them, but they convinced them to go back riding them buses, them same buses that had denied many of black folk a seat in the front. They went back to that, man, and discarded the bus line, or, that mode or that system of transportation they developed for themselves while they were boycotting. That made no sense, man. Who sold us out? Why would you go back to that when you realize, okay, we found a way to get it done? Someone sold us out. It's just like you're saying, though, B60. Something happened on Cooper Road where everything was already set. Didn't need the city's transportation. Had your own. However, lo and behold, it was the city transporting the people, getting that money. Somebody sold somebody out. Somebody sold us out, This is the problem, man. This is the problem that we face, man. You say, oh, yeah, greetings, Bub, and the Royal Group congregation. Bro, you already here. Shit, recognize you from jump. All love, though, homie. Glad to see you with us. Yeah, glad to see you with us, man. You're going to say, and you are doing an awesomely phenomenal job on all things politics, man. I appreciate that, bro. I tell you what, I mean this, man. I aspire to do better. I'm motivated because, comments like yours, man, and brothers and sisters who support, the channel. So, and man, I appreciate that, man. Hanging there with me, man. It's going to get greater. All right. And again, it's all things politics, man. We talking about black folks worldwide, and we talking about a lot of idiotic things that the white folks do, and how what they do affect us. Because you got to know, man, politics, man, I don't care, man, what type of politics, we're going to be affected by them. We're going to be, this shit going on with Epstein and Trump and all that, that shit is going to affect us in some form of fashion. See, because Trump has to find a way out of this quagmire. What's he going to do? What is he going to do? Not only do they have him looking bad, they got his wife looking bad too. He has to get the onus, this burden off him. And I guarantee you, whatever comes up, whatever they decide, it will affect us in some form of fashion, So no matter what, man, politics matter. It matter, man. As soon as we get up in the morning, we walk out our homes, politics is in full effect. You got to know that. But appreciate that, man. I strive to do better, bro. All right. Thank you. I just want to say that. Thank you. James say, man, here on the street level, if the brothers was never banging or threw their lives away over hatred of their own, we'd have accomplished a lot more than what's to show for today, which isn't much, sadly. And then I have to say, man, I don't know. I don't know about that, because see, gang banging is just one factor, just one thing that, is keeping us in this position we're in. Drugs is another. Miseducation or lack thereof is another. Employment, a means to take care of oneself and his family. All these things matter, man. So here's the thing, and I get what Brother Umar is saying, I get, we have to get to the point where we understand that it's more than one thing. It's a multi-pronged attack on us, man. It's not just one thing. There are a number of things that just we are being bombarded with every day. We know them all too well, y'all. We know these issues all too well. And yet we continue to go. We continue to strive and push. We continue to rise, you know what I mean? And sometimes, man, yeah, man, you ain't got a foot off the ground, man. You've been trying to rise for the last 10, 20 years. There are so many things, man, that is weighing us down, that is against us, all right? And I'm telling you, game banging is just one of them. There are other factors, I think, more weighty, that weigh more, that are more significant than game banging, you know? But valid point, game banging is a damn problem in that, you know, we're killing each other. We don't know, man, to this day, how many of our saviors we've killed. How many brothers or sisters could have been the ones to lead us out of this shit? How many leaders? We don't know. Yes, game banging is significant. It's a factor, no doubt. But there are so many other factors, man, that take place that affect our lives on a daily basis that, man, in fact, man, a lot of us don't even acknowledge. But it's there, you know, it's there, or they are there, those issues. But again, hey, B60M, thanks, bro. Appreciate you, man. C1 says, White Australia has literally showed us what's the fuck they care about. And it's our land resources. And it's our land, I think you want to say resources. No one receives any sort of mining dividends. We actually subsidize our mining companies. Yeah, man. But you know, what you're describing is same thing as what Brother Umar is describing in terms of controlling shit. You know, it's racism, you know, and that's what racism is. Control everything, you know, keep it at such a level to where, hey, man, you know, again, we know every day we don't run shit. There you are in Australia, you know, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Hey, man, the playbook, man, it's wide open, and it's the same playbook they all use, you know. They're going to make sure they are all right as they make sure that we get nothing right, you know. That's just the way it works, man, until such a time the people, I don't care where they are on the face of this earth, decide that enough is enough. All right. And when we do decide that, those who sell us out will be the first to be addressed. You know what I mean? So until then, man, yeah, we're going to continue to see a whole lot of this stuff. Sad to say, but that's the reality. You say we actually subside our mining companies, all foreign investments, go all over the world. Well, go to those places in the world where resources are abundant. Australia, actually, from what I read, I think a week or so ago, the resources over there haven't even really been tapped yet. You know, but I just saw again where they're making deals with the EU, the European Union, and America to start extracting natural resources from Australia. Billion-dollar contracts, hundreds of billion-dollar contracts. Yeah, you know, and the people, the people will not see any of that. And it's their land. This is all over the world, though, where there are an abundance of resources, you know? So until we decide to change things, man, this is the way it's going to be. Queen Ndinga said, man, we seem to always want acceptance of these white people, and that's true. That's true. A lot of people put on acts, you know, menstrual act type shit, you know, want to clown around, be buffoons for these people, you know, want to be accepted, you know, want to be accepted by them and only them. You can give a damn if we accept them. They don't care, you know, they don't care. But as long as they accept them, that's all that matters. Part of the problem. Part of the problem. Man, this shit is crazy. Let's get back to this get down, y'all. I'm gonna get about 3-4 more minutes of this. We got to figure this out, y'all. We're in a real fight.
Department is now dismantling federal education as it goes on. Let's talk about the state of the black men and boys. The education department is now dismantling federal education as it goes on. Our young black boys, suspensions are being surged. We're surging in suspension around the country as it relates to African-American boys in school. And we're seeing calculated resets on black male potential. And I asked you earlier, and you said it was a form of Jim Crow 5.0.
5.0, Jim Crow 5.0.
And so I want you to break that down and why you feel that.
Jim,
First of all, let's go back to 1954.
Same thing.
United States Supreme Court outlawed the use of race in public education. Black people were learning just fine prior to 1954.
That's right.
They did not desegregate public schools so black children could get a better education. They desegregated black schools because they were concerned about the growth of black excellence. Keep in mind, we invented the gas mask before we went to school with white children. We invented the stoplight before we went to school with white children. We invented the refrigerated truck before we went to school with white children. They did not desegregate to help us. They desegregated to hinder us. They saw Black Wall Street in Tulsa. They saw Black Wall Street in Rosewood. They saw Black Wall Street in Wilmington, North Carolina. They saw Black Wall Street in Charleston. They saw independent black communities even here in Ohio. And they decided that if we want to stop the progress of black people, we must take over control of their children's education. And
let me stop that right there because I'm getting chills, man. Yeah, they didn't stop segregation, man, to help us, man. And we had this conversation as well. They did it to stop us from learning, to stop us from achieving, like he's saying. But we said this, we said this, we recognize why integration exists, why it is. And we've also said that we need to self-segregate from these people. I'm telling you, I think that's the step. We have to self-segregate. We have to not integrate with these people if we mean to do better, by ourselves. In other words, if we mean to do good for us, we got to get away from these people, man. We have to get away from them. We have to self-segregate ourselves, man. All that rhetoric about Trump about re-implementing segregation, that's cap. That is cap. It's said to have people in a frenzy, to make them want to be more integrated and get out and start, oh no, I'm American. No, it's a play on our psyches, man. And that's why I say, man, a lot of black people just, man, either they don't really know any better, or they just dumb or don't care. Segregation was the best thing that happened for us, coming out of slavery, so to speak, Wasn't nothing we couldn't do. Those were just a few inventions he mentioned, and the fact of the matter is, those individuals who invented that stuff didn't sit in college universities with white people, engineering school with white people, public schools with white people. We're talking about back in the day. But that shit was, that wasn't even a discussion. But that's what they accomplished. That's what our people accomplished. And that was through being educated by our own people. Yeah, we need segregation, man. I said, man, the Governor George Wallace, I agree with him now. Segregation now and segregation forever. Let's get the hell away from these people, y'all. It's the only thing that's going to save us. That's part of what's going to save us, not the only thing. Crazy, man.
And when they desegregated the schools, they did not bring black teachers with black students. The biggest layoff in public education is between 1954 and 1974 of black teachers. They brought our children into the schools. They fired the teachers. And so when our black children were bused into white schools, having to deal with not only bigoted white students, but bigoted white teachers, there was no black teachers in there to protect them. And because many school districts said, we're not going to integrate. We don't care what you say. So the federal government came up with a plan called special education. And in 1974, they invented special ed to give white school districts the opportunity to make money off of the miseducation of black children. And basically the agreement was, take these black children into your white schools. We will let you resegregate, but you can't do it based on color. We're going to give you 13 disabilities. And the main disability has been the so-called learning disability. And if you get your white racist school psychologists who still work in Cleveland schools today to evaluate these black children and call them reading disabled, math disabled, comprehension disabled, intellectually disabled, emotionally disabled, you can separate them from the white children in a class of their own. So,
man, shit. See, again, we're being faulted for being miseducated or undereducated. You know, we're being made to look like dummies, not intellectual at all, unable to learn. And this is a creation, you know, this is something they put to us in terms of education. It's all intentional. When they said, okay, we're no longer going to let you, or we're no longer going to segregate you because you are teaching these black kids what these white kids don't know. You know, think about that. Black children learning on a level greater than white children because they're being taught by their own. And whites understanding, like, wait a minute, man, they are above, educational sense or knowledge, you know, than ours or than their counterparts, their white peers. You know, something's wrong here. We got to stop that. Integration. And along with integration came certain caveats or, you know, things they allowed these school systems to do in order to label black children as unteachable. Some crazy stuff, man.
Special education was created to undo the effects of desegregation. Now, let me say this. Black boys don't need a special school. Right. Black boys don't need a special curriculum. Black boys don't need a special education. The problem is they have flipped this situation on its head, and they have the black community looking at our boys as if they are the problem. Nothing's wrong with black boys. The problem is the white teachers, who are 67% of Cleveland's teachers, don't care about the black boys they teach. So you should be intervening with the white teacher. But because of Snow Bunny privilege, she cannot be blamed. The white woman cannot be blamed for the failure of black boys. So what do? We let them blame our boys for why they can't read. We let them blame our boys for why they can't count. We let them blame our boys for why they can't sit still. And nobody ever points a finger at the racist white teacher. Public education is the only industry in America where the customer is blamed for not getting the product they paid for. Wow. When you go to the supermarket and your food is spoiled, you go back to the supermarket. When you buy an automobile and your car doesn't work, you go back to the auto shop. But when black kids come home and can't read, we don't look at the teachers, we blame them.
So are y'all ready for this?
Man, what?
He's just getting started.
What?
All right,
let me say this real quick.
What? We ready?
In order to teach a child, you have to care about them. Are y'all listening to me? In order to teach a child, you have to care about them. No child is going to take a risk at being embarrassed and humiliated in front of their class unless they know that teacher unconditionally cares about me. If I don't feel love in my classroom, if I know she's only there to pay her mortgage so her and her white police officer husband can pay their bills, then why would I try? The biggest thing missing from Cleveland schools, Dayton schools, Cincinnati, Youngstown, Ohio, the biggest thing missing is teachers who care. You got to love a child in order to teach them. Our babies are being victimized by psychological terrorism every day they walk into these schools. And then when the boys can't sit still long enough to learn about Christopher Columbus, when they can't sit still long enough to learn about Helen Keller, when they can't sit still long enough to learn about Anne Frank and Thomas Jefferson, they want to send them to the psychiatrist and get an ADHD, ODD, CD, IDD, BULLSHIT. Listen to me. Don't you ever let a teacher tell you your child needs medication to get an education. Our children don't need medication to get an education. Boys are active by nature. Black ones, white ones, brown ones, red ones, yellow ones. The problem is the schools are run by women, and those women expect boys to behave like girls. And when he can sit still like the girls, he's considered to be disabled. If we had more black male teachers, we wouldn't have this problem. When boys go through puberty and their body starts to prepare for their ability to produce children, they start producing testosterone in high levels. Testosterone makes you energetic. Testosterone makes you want to jump, run, climb, tackle somebody. When girls go through puberty, their body starts to generate high levels of estrogen. When girls are going through puberty, they want to lay down, they want to sleep, they want to take it easy. Boys are the exact opposite. And the problem is that the American public school system is not designed to cater to the needs of black boys. So they send you to the doctor, and the doctor going to give you a Ritalin prescription, an Adderall prescription, a Metadate prescription, a Cycler prescription. Put your son on crack. Here's the problem. You got black men all over Ohio in jail for selling crack. So if crack is not a good thing, why is it okay to put crack in a baby bottle, give it to my son, but it's not okay for his father to sell it? If his father goes to jail for 5 years for being caught with crack, I'm sure crack cannot be advantageous to the child. And what are the side effects? Kill brain cells. What are the side effects? Mess with kidney, liver, and heart function. What are the side effects? Sleeping disorders, eating disorders, psychosis, depression, homicidal thought, and suicidal thought. I had a professor tell me in college that 15% or more of the crime in the black community can be directly attributed to the long-term side effects of psychiatric medication. Our children do not need drugs, they need love.
Let me jump in here, man. All right, y'all. I'm hoping like heck y'all getting the bar of this. And we say this all the time on Touching Bases with the people when we talking about our community. We talk about love first and foremost. That's what's missing. That's what's missing. A lot of these young brothers and sisters out in these streets doing a lot of things that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing. We know is wrong. Is because there's no love at home. Then hurry to get out of there. And some of us know the turmoil that's in these homes. And we were the same way. Just let me hear him get up out of here, you know. There's no love. There's no love. We have these conversations about young brothers and sisters, and brothers would say, hey, you know what? We just got to forget about them. Oh, man. They are not expendable. We have to find a way to show them that they're loved, that they're cared for, and more importantly, that they are needed. We need them, man. We need our young brothers and sisters. Because this fight, man, this war we in, it's going to take each and every one of us. And by the same token, when we know we're dealing with corrupt souls, you know, not corrupt minds, because I think you can uncorrupt the mind, but when the soul is rotten, then you know, but we lack love in the community. We lack love in the home. That's the problem. That's one of the problems. All right. It's just some sad shit, man, to hear this, man. And I love how this brother is articulating every bit of what he's talking about. All right. Cold thing, man. Cold thing, y'all. All right. I'm feeling this. I'm gonna go back, man, a few more minutes, y'all, and then we're gonna get into how we get into things. All right. Where you at, Raymond Skull? I'm gonna need you to jump in here, man. We're gonna do about a couple more minutes, y'all. RGC, and then we're gonna do what we do, how we normally do it. And we'll take it from there. All right. A few more minutes to Dr. Umar Johnson. Tip your hat to him. Damn.
We're going to talk about your book because now we're here today and we want everybody to know he has a book that he has published, and we have them over there at the table there that if you're interested in it, we're going to raffle off a couple of them today as a gift for folks who came to the program today. But I want to talk to you, if you don't mind, telling everybody about your book that you wrote and some of the tools that they can use from that book to kind of help them deal with students or their kids going through this process.
Well, my first book, Psychoacademic Holocaust, the special ed and ADHD wars against Black boys. I wrote that book because as I traveled the country, being a certified school psychologist, I noticed that most Black parents knew nothing about educational law, and they knew nothing about behavioral procedure, and they knew nothing about special education policy. So when I wrote Psychoacademic Holocaust, I thought that I hit the nail on the head. But parents came back, and although the book benefited them, they still had a lot of unanswered questions. So I said, I got to get more technical this time. I got to really go down to the grassroots and make sure they understand this thing. And so Black Parent Advocate grew out of a need to make sure Black parents, particularly mothers, since they're raising so many of our children alone, that they would have a how-to manual on how to deal with any problem the school throws at you. So half of that book are letters that you can reproduce, put your name on it, take mine off, and give to the school. So for example, if you think your child is mentally gifted and they're refusing to evaluate your child for mental giftedness, and they do that a lot in Black school districts because a lot of white people don't think Black kids can be mentally gifted. So I have a letter in there that you reproduce and you send it into the school. If Ohio State Department of Education still has a gifted policy, you can still request a gifted evaluation. A lot of parents don't know that. Let's say you want your child evaluated for speech in preschool, because special education begins at age 3 and special education ends at age 21 or high school graduation, whichever happens first. So if you got a 3-year-old in preschool and they have a speech problem and you want to get them some speech services, you can contact the special ed department of Cleveland Metropolitan Public Schools and say, I have a 3-year-old who I think can benefit from speech services. I have the letter in there. Now let's look at the other side. Let's say your child been in special ed 3 years, still can't read. Special ed 3 years, still can't count. Special ed 3 years, still can't comprehend, which means the IEP team has failed your child. That means if we can prove that they have failed your child, not you, because you don't send them to school, not you, because you don't go to IEP meetings, not you, because you don't check homework, but because of the failure of the school. If we can prove the school failed your disabled child, according to federal law, you can make Cleveland Metropolitan Public Schools pay for your child to go to a private school at public expense. I help parents do it all over America. But the biggest problem with helping Black parents get private schools for the disabled children is your paperwork is never organized. You gotta keep your paperwork together, because the first thing I need to see are your child's psychological evaluations. A child with a disability must be reevaluated every 3 years in America. So if your child got put in special ed in the second, there's a 5th grade eval, there's an 8th grade eval, there's an 11th grade eval. If your child got put in special ed in kindergarten, there's a 3rd grade eval, a 6th grade eval, a 9th grade eval, and a 12th grade eval. If you don't have the paperwork, how in the hell am I going to trace this whole situation back to the beginning? And I'll stop with this, and I talk about this in my book. No Black child should be getting evaluated for anything except speech under the age of 7. Did y'all hear what I said? Not reading, not math, not comprehension, not intellectual, not emotional, not ADHD, conduct disorder, and why not? Why is Dr. Umar saying you should never let a Black child get evaluated under the age of 7? Because the earlier the child is, the more likely we can get the diagnosis wrong, Baba. You feel me? Because when a child is young, they're still growing and learning. There's no psychologist in America that can tell you for certain that your 3-year-old is autistic. Now, autism is real, but autism is often misdiagnosed. Why? Because we get them evaluated too soon. And the reason we get them evaluated too soon, Baba, the reason the preschools push it is they want the special ed money. Did y'all hear me?
Wow.
They want the special ed money. They don't care about your child. They want the money. And since special ed begins at 3, if you silly enough to let them evaluate a 3-year-old, okay, they'll put them in special ed so they can get that money. Especially
That's so similar to how doctors do patients. Misdiagnose them or purposely diagnose them for something they need, they don't have an issue with, only to get you to the pharmacy or to prescribe medications. The medications they subscribe to patients, they get money for them. The government gives them money, depends on the insurance also, but hey, it almost seems to be the same thing to me. Oh shit, man.
special ed child is worth on average twice as much as a regular child. So let me give you an example. Let's say Cleveland Public Schools spends $10,000 a year on a child, Bob, a regular child.
Right.
The minute I say he's autistic, the minute I say he's emotionally disturbed, the minute I say he has a reading problem, he ain't worth 10. He worth 20. And they get the extra 10 every year. So if you put your second grader in special ed and they get an extra $10,000 a year, by the time he graduates from 12th grade, that's $100,000 extra for one. So how much money do they get in Cleveland schools for 100? How much is the special ed budget in Cleveland schools for 1,000? They are literally pimping our children in the name of miseducation.
All right. All right. Oh man, I don't know what to say, man. I just know that this is a whole lot. No doubt, man, that we are in a situation, educationally speaking, financially speaking, politically speaking, in every sense of the word, we are in a situation. And at some point, man, we have to figure out what we're going to do to extract ourselves from this problem that we're faced with. I think one of the main things to do, one thing to address more than anything else, is we address ourselves first, our issues. Our issues, we have to know what our issues are, and we have to know that, man, continue to keep playing these games. It ain't gonna do nothing, man, but put us further in the hole. And these same children that Dr. Umar are talking about will be saying or having these same problems 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you know, and by that we mean, or it should be understood that if that's the case 15 years from now, then that means, man, that generation is doomed. There's no future for our people. Sad shit, man. Sad shit. Let's get into these comments, man. On this shit, man. This was exhausting to me, man. Upsetting and exhausting just listening to this shit. I'm kind of regretting that we didn't get to, you know, who's selling us out other than who he named, because I'm pretty sure he got some more, you know, pertaining to that than what we know, you know. This piece is 1 hour and 38 minutes. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow continue with this piece with Dr. Umar. We'll take it up. I'll go home and I'll listen to, because I didn't listen to the whole thing. I listened to maybe the first 5 minutes, and I knew off the rip, okay, this is something that the people, you know, touching bases with the people, the RGC should hear. This is something we could talk about, you know, and I'm pretty sure it's also something we can all relate to. All right. So that being said, I'm discontinue this, and then let's get into our thing, how we do our thing. All right. All right, here we go, y'all. All right, let's see what these comments say, man. Whole lot. Damn. I think I'm gonna go from the bottom and work my way up, man. Raymond Skull 102 said, man, it seems the war on us starts even in elementary school, and with the father not being in house and not being in household to protect the family on all fronts. It's inevitable for our children to grow up dysfunctional. Yeah, the age don't matter, man. King Leopold, man, he was chopping off the hands of babies, man. You know, the age don't matter to these people, man. It does not matter in no shape, form, or fashion. You know, we all the same to them. Age does not differentiate racism and how they see and is willing to deal with us, as well as bigotry. It's all the same. You know, be a newborn baby, man, and we all know the stories of what happened to newborn babies during that period or that time they call slavery. Come on, man. It does not matter. And this is, you know, this is putting it mildly, just to, you know, extract the father from the home so that he can not only provide, but protect them, you know, raise them up, you know. Man, this is crazy. You go on, Raymond, and say, man, I'm thankful that you played this clip. As I stated earlier, I felt this information could be of value to our group and dialogue. Man, you hit it spot on, man. You hit the nail on the head, man. I told you when you sent the clip, and I got up this morning. When I got up, you know, I normally go to my phone and I send out all my greetings. You know what I mean? You know, we have exchange. You know what I mean, Roscoe? And I did that, but I noticed your text. However, I'm rushing because I had to do what I had to do today, and then also take my wife to work. So I wasn't able to read the text until I got to my destination, which was maybe an hour later or hour or two later. And I'm telling you, it hit me off the rip. I mean, you know, it was spot on, you know. So I appreciate that you even took the time, man, that you're doing what you're doing, even run across that, you know, and then had the wherewithal to send and say, man, you know, looking at the best interest of the RGC, say, man, let me send this, man, because we need to hear this. Thank you, bro. I thank you. All right. Yeah. Anthony Tibbs say, man, the purpose for the booster shots, all that bullshit was just data. That's it. They're trying to understand our DNA. And to this day, like I said, I dropped something today speaking about DNA on All Things Politics, and I wish you guys go check that out. But they are still, it's you know, we are like the pyramid to them. We're just something they can't fathom. They can't understand it. You know, no matter what they've done to us, you know, over these hundreds of years, man, especially in terms of experimentation, you know, they've experimented on us, man, with some of everything, about some of everything. and they still have not been able to figure it out or figure us out, you know. But for the most part, a lot of what they do, yeah, they do it for data, you know. Though the data would prove incomplete on a lot of fronts, that don't phase them one bit. They'll still collect data because I think that they think in their minds, you know, at some point the data will match up. Just keep doing the experiments, you know. We'll get to it, you know. But man, Queen Nzinga said, man, I needed that book before I tripped out on the whole school board. They had me for a minute. I'll read that again. I needed that book before I tripped out on the whole school board. They had me for a minute. I can imagine that. Going up in that place, PTA meetings and everything else. Principal's office, teachers be cussing up a storm. That's with your baby. You know. Sharpshooter, or excuse me, Sharp Spear, how you doing, bro? Good to see you up in here, man. All right, I see you, man. Sharp Spear says, Democrat Party is our eternal enemy, 100. They desegregated our schools, fired our principals and teachers so that they can dump our kids down, and they got plenty of black people to cover for them, i.e. Maxine. Now, I said a little while ago, you weren't in here at the time, Sharp Spear. I said, man, me and my wife sit down and I tell her, and let me clarify, what I tell her about our people ain't just about actors and musicians and athletes. It's about those people who are really supposed to be doing something for us. I can't stand politicians. They all sellouts. I ain't knew of one yet that I wouldn't call a sellout. All right. But her, she's one of them. Maxine she's a great sellout. I don't care what nobody say. You know, she worse than Tom Bradley. I mean, if y'all know what that is, and you know what the hell I'm talking about. So he was scared of Daryl Gates. And he was the damn mayor. He was scared of Chief Daryl Gates. And the other guy, I forget his name. Another sadistic bastard. Anyway. Yeah, man. Cool thing, man. I'm right here, Anthony Tibbs. He said, well, yeah, were you guys not able to see me on the screen when I was doing the devil thing? I know you know I didn't. That's wrong, but okay. All right. Okay, let me see. Yeah, Anthony Tibbs said, man, I bucked their bullshit at an early age, like the majority of us. And then they pushed us down the slide with that bullshit system. You never lied. I can recall the incident in the second grade. I think I told the story before, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna tell you, I was in the second grade. I forget what school, but they were doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And I had refused to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ask me why, I can't tell you. All I know is when the teacher, a white woman, told me I had to do the Pledge of Allegiance, I told her I'm not doing the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, and said, you got to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I told her, I can't wait till I grow up because I'm tired of you white people telling me what to do. You know, I've been bucking it, man, the same way, man, a lot of us have, man. It's just something about that system, and I'm talking about the school system, that we all know means it's no good, man. It's something about that system that means it's no good. And that is, in my opinion, now that I'm a lot older and I understand a lot better, it is that to this day, miseducation or miseducating us. They didn't give a damn about us, man. That's the truth. I have one teacher, and some of you know, if you went to Lauren Miller Elementary, everybody knew this teacher. She didn't play. Miss Tennyson. She was about the black youth, black boy and girl. She wanted us to be educated. You know, she didn't play games, man. She was a good woman, a good sister. She knew when to, indulge us and when to not tolerate the BS. She would shut the classroom door because it was all blacks. It wasn't no whites in the classroom, wasn't no Mexicans. It was all brothers and sisters in that classroom. She would shut the door and she would talk to us like we were her children. And she would tell us things about the system, about the world, Loved woman. I mean, everybody, even people who weren't in her classroom knew her or knew of her, After school, she'd go on 78th. We lived on 78th at the time, as a matter of fact, between Hoover and Figueroa. There was a teacher aide that lived there that worked at Laura Miller as well. And they would sit down with all the mothers on the street, go porch and man, have those conversations. That was the only teacher. She was a black woman that gave a damn about us, Real spit. Real spit, man. So yeah, most of us understand, man, this system don't mean it's no good, man. It means it's no good. Man. Anthony Tibbs say, man, they seen how advanced we were and separated. They seen how advanced we were and separated to shield their bullshit curriculum. But I'm telling y'all, man, the worst thing that happened to us was integration. The Democrats pushing forward. In fact, I think, the Republicans relented because there was something in it for them. They benefited in some form or fashion. So they allowed the Democrats to, I think the benefit was them understanding that in order to stop what y'all saying. So y'all ain't got to go and, from Black Wall Street town to Black Wall Street town, killing up the whole town. This is what we got to do. That could be, it's just a theory of mine, but yeah, shit's crazy, man. The Democrats, man, they're worse than the Republicans. Trust that, y'all. They're worse, way worse. Raymond Skull 102 said, man, I've seen this putting young brothers on medications in school due to behavior, creating young drug addicts in school in our adolescence. And they can go through withdrawals too. So when I first went to county camp, I first went to county camp, man. Them bastards would force feed me Thorazine. Literally grab my jaw, drop the pill in there. It was 2 pills at the time, if I remember correctly. Do this, make me swallow, right? But I learned how to hold, just hold it down there. Do all that shit. When they go, cough it back up, boom, throw it away. I got caught doing that. So what they did was they would take the pills and crush them up into powder and give them to me with a little cup of orange juice, But I never understood how the fuck I even got to the point where they would medicate me with Thorazine. I never seen the psych until I was in prison trying to get out of prison. It's the only time I ever seen the psych. I don't recall seeing a psych through the county camp process or youth authority. But that's what they do to us. They medicate us, man, and they medicate our children. And this is, I think, a form of arrest. They do it to assist in the arrested development of our young black brothers and sisters, man. That's why I think they do it. They medicate them for that reason, so that they don't develop, man. Yeah, turn them into addicts. Turn them into addicts, man. C1 going in. Damn. I'm gonna read this because she said, oh my God, she done been through some shit. Start here with this, C1. I see you, Frederick. Good to see you up in this get out, man. Frederick Hazaby 9351 said, Umar Shar, we trapped in the integrated burning building. We can't even get out, man. They done blockaded the exit, exit ways and shit. We in this burning building, man. We all gonna die. Figure speech though, y'all. Don't take me seriously. You gonna say we had our own everything? That we did, and we had our own everything. Here's the thing. So let's say, and this is just along the thoughts I'm having in terms of segregation, moving from segregation to integration. When our people who were doing that thing under the segregation thing, they knew they were winning. They had to have known they were winning. So when the crackers came back and said, no, ain't no more segregation, y'all, we're going to integrate you, did anybody fight that? You know what I mean? Did anybody say, no, we good? We kind of like it being segregated. We kind of like being segregated. No, we okay. I wonder. Did anybody, I wonder if that's documented, man. And if they did, I wonder, did they live? Because then that means that if they said that, then the white person had to know, okay, here's the problem right here. Let's get rid of this one, and then we're going to make the rest of them come along and follow suit, But hey, man, segregation was the best thing in this country to happen to us. Integration, other than slavery, was the worst, or is the worst, one of the two, in a bad way, man. Queen Nzinga said these narratives have persisted throughout time, resulting in young Black men being viewed as suspects rather than individuals. Let's separate from these people, y'all. Here you go. That's what I say. Segregation now, segregation forever. I'm trying to get to C1's where she started at right here. Okay, let's try this. I think this is it. There's so much. There's so many comments in here, y'all. C1 says, if the deceived worked, he could have killed thousands of us. The device, I would think, I don't know. If the device worked, he could have killed thousands of us. White Australia is trying to get rid of the last of us. Our mayor is just ignoring it, yet it's all over Black media here. And if we don't stop learning, they're going to try to wipe us out. So that's not a friend to me. Fuck now, you got me thinking. Okay, B60. But yeah, I get the gist of what you're saying, C1. And again, it's the playbook, y'all. They work from a particular script. They do. They not coming across this shit just on off the fly, off the cuff. They're not just thinking about this over dinner last night. You know what I mean? I got up today and had breakfast and light went on. No, this is a playbook they work from, man. They've been doing this, you guys. Been doing it. B60N, okay, I got you right there, man. This you got a couple of comments. Let's tap in on those. Basically saying wow and label. Okay, I guess you're talking to something someone else says. Okay, but here's one that makes, that's on point. They do their best to stall brilliance or excellence, growth, potential, They are hard at work, yo guys. But see, be that as it may, right? When are we as a people going to say enough's enough? Most of us in the RGC, we have family. We either have children, some maybe grandchildren. We have brothers and sisters. We have family who are also being affected. At what point do we say enough is enough? When do we start really addressing these issues? And truth of the matter is, we don't talk about them enough. Again, we do not communicate. We do not communicate. I think that's the problem to begin with. We do not communicate. So at what point do we start to really communicate? You know, at what point do we start to, you know, spread the message of the word that the time is now for us to rise up for real? At what point, man? Let's not wait, man. You know, we don't have time. We don't have this type of time, man. We don't have that type of time, man, you know, not deal with this today, you know? Real spit. James said, Black excellence is a beauty that inferior racist minds will never be able to comprehend. Therefore, they try to eliminate it. If it ain't black, it's whack. The world is mad at brothers, but fuck the world. Tell the truth, man. C1 says, I'm ADHD since 12. Medicated early as fuck. Facts, I got the first 2 and Zoloft. Anthony Tibbs, man. Anthony Tibbs said, I lived that shot, bub, in elementary in Oklahoma. Yeah, man. We have to get to the point where we actually start making strides or taking those steps, man, to change our predicament, because that's what we're in. We're in a predicament. We are in a predicament, man. Daryl Gates and Pete Wilson, both of them were devils. You ain't never lied. Anthony Tibbs said, man, I feel and grab all the truth and gems he dropping, but it's definitely fucked their curriculum because we know what is up and going. We just don't have the resources established in abundance. And I think that that's another thing, you guys, that we're led to believe that we need to have. Always, we got to have something to get something up and running to start it, you know. Some things that may be true, some things, you know, that would apply to, you know, but when we're talking about something, and it's not as simple, I won't say as simple as, but when we're talking about, first and foremost, man, learning to communicate with each other, man, that don't cost us nothing, man. You know, that don't cost us nothing. And when I say learn to communicate with each other, I mean, man, we talking to each other, man, like we're equals, man, like we really are brothers and sisters, that we really love one another, you know? And then we're talking about those things that affect each and every one of us the same way. There's not one of us who is affected differently than the other. Not in this circumstance, not in this country, you know? Communication is the key, you guys. And it don't take $1. It ain't gonna cost you a dime to start speaking with your brothers and sisters about those issues that actually matter, especially for those who are coming up now. Them same 3-year-olds that they want to medicate going to school tomorrow when they, you know, I don't know how the hell they could do that. Most of these kids go to these little daycare, like preschools or something like that, right? I think. Now I'm wondering, do these people try to administer medication? You know, I think not, but it makes you wonder. I don't know. Sharp Spears says, Bub, check the video, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America by Charlotte Isabeth. All right. Okay, that might be something we discuss tomorrow. The Dumbing Down of America. The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. Hold on. You get that? The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. And the name is, okay. was Isabel. All right, got that, Sharsby. Appreciate that, bro. Yeah, man. All right, everybody. I'm gonna have to cut this thing short. We got to make a move. We're gonna bust a move. But hopefully, you know, everybody was able to pick up a gem or two listening to Brother Umar. Man, we got to grab all we can get, man. We got to grab all we can get. And then especially we have to grab those things that are going to help assist us in re-educating the way we think, how we speak and act. You know, we need to pick up them jewels and gems, man, that's going to give us insight as to how we can come to first love ourselves so that we can love someone else that looks just like us, man. All that shit matters. It all matters. It's all in the same vein, man. Again, you cannot love yourself and then say you don't love me, or you know what I mean? See, love of self is something, I'm telling you, it's transcendent. It transcends. It goes from one thing, place to another, one person to another. You know, love yourself, man, so that you can love somebody else, man. Help yourself so that when the time comes, you'll be in a position to help someone else who very well may need your assistance. All right. You know, again, I want to send a shout out, man, to Raymond Skoll, man. I appreciate you, man. That goes also to the RGC Collective, all the brothers and sisters who tapped in, you know, took time out their day, their evening to, you know, get a few minutes of this get down right here. This is Touching Bases with the People. This is where, man, we come to do, you know, the good work. You know, we have the good discussions, those things. We talk about those things that actually matter to us. I appreciate that no one in here in the RGC, man, was a ninja or a bee or a hoe, you know? So it's a good work, man. I love the RGC. Take care of yourselves, like I said, so that you're able to take care of someone else. You are, you have been, and you will be under the groove. Power is in the people. Power is in the people. One love.
Count the names, count the bodies, count the victory. Cullen Hughes, Hurston writing future history. From the Apollo to the Borough to the Sphere, where the echo of those Harlem nights still ringing clear. So when they ask what happened in those tenement flats, between the spirituals and where consciousness is at, tell them we transformed suffering to scholarship and song. Tell them we've been telling you we're brilliant all along. The Renaissance will prologue every decade since the sequel. Every black child born's continuation of the people who survived the Middle Passage, survived the Jim Crow laws, and built magnificence from nothing but their vision and their flaws. That's in the sergeant is once a less than Actors, hats, and Mercedes. Please don't you, I can't stop us. Power sensitive, but you the applause for polls. Need your data, talks and constantly problem when the wedges want to build the season big. Now don't get the pause. It's just erasing up the times. Plead the rock is off the main. Make it on the fans. Turn and neck and love the durn. Suffers like a kisher. You were wrong to preaching up on side as each bitch on the shit and untrue seeing vet someone that very it's on Gary Land. Be hell in heaven, you see what the Bonavir. You wait something for the marker rate to keep him through the trumpets on the boards to the singer land is carried open slowly. Keep us lucky on my mother, break your generosity more than he and let the peasant be. It's every time we keep a spawn.